Om Jnana Timanasya Slakya Sakshan Militam Yena Tasmai Shigove Nama Namam Vishnu Padai Krishna Pastaya Bhuttale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravanya Pacharine Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachai Desatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So after giving his supreme instructions that from which we will still hear a few. Then after that, Arjun says, my ignorance is gone. I'm ready to fight. And then we go back to Dhritarashtra and Sanjay. And Sanjay, that after hearing Bhagavad Gita, his hair stands on end. And he ecstatically proclaims that wherever there is Arjuna and Krishna, there will always be victory. So that is the concluding section of the Bhagavad Gita. So we will start with verse 67 first, the last instructions of Lord Krishna in the Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Idam tena tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na sasusosave pacham na samam yobhyasuyati. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, or those who is envious of me. At the end of this purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, actually the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous. Even if one is not sensuous, but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic scripture, if he is not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. And even when one person himself is a devotee of Krishna, but is not engaged in Krishna consciousness activity, he also cannot understand. So he must practice Krishna consciousness to understand. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of Bhagavad Gita, for they cannot understand. There is no possibility of the faithless person understanding Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of a pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon Bhagavad Gita. And a number of very important instructions here that Prabhupada is. I have a quote from Prabhupada on this. This is from a Bhagavad Gita lecture on these last instructions, that of the Gita. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knows very well that there will be many rascals who are envious of him. Because the Bhagavad Gita is a very popular book of profound knowledge, everyone is trying to prove his own theory through the medium of the Bhagavad Gita, whilst excluding Krishna. They want to kill Krishna. They are demonic. Anyone who tries to kill Krishna is a demon. So to warn the devotees about these demons, this sloka was spoken by Krishna himself. That's what Prabhupada said, to warn us against these demons. Atapaskaya. Actually, one who is sinful, who is not undergoing this method of austerities, penances, what will he understand about Bhagavad Gita? It is not table talk. People are taking it as table talk by so-called scholarship. It is not possible to understand. Just as it is said that unless one is a qualified Brahmin, he should not touch the Vedas. That means he cannot understand unless he has attained the Brahminical qualification of truthfulness, cleanliness, controlling the senses, controlling the mind, simplicity, tolerance, full of Vedic knowledge, practical application in life, and full faith in the Vedas. A lot of conditions. These are the Brahminical qualifications. It's high. To be a Brahmin is high. So we get Brahminical initiation, but that does not mean we are Brahmins. That's a wrong idea. Why does the spiritual master give Brahminical initiation? Because he sees that we have developed some of these qualities, and we are a good candidate to become a Brahmin in the future. And because we need pujaris and so, we give Brahminical initiation, because you need Brahminical initiation to do deity worship. But if one does not have the Brahminical qualifications and does not have the required austerity and so on, then we see many times many are engaged in deity worship, but then Prabhupada writes, the deity worship becomes a burden. Krishna becomes a burden. It's too much. So we have to be very careful with that. So unless one has attained the Brahminical qualifications, what can we understand of the Vedas? It is not Max Muller who translates the Vedas. This is all nonsense. What can Max Muller understand of the Vedas? This is not the subject matter for one. This is not the subject matter for one advanced in A, B, C, D. No, this is a transcendental subject matter. Tat Om, Tat Sat. So many times, so-called scholars look at it from the Sanskrit grammar point of view and try to concoct so many things out of it which are not there. But only one who understands Krishna and Krishna's mood, a pure devotee, he can comment, and he understands the correct meaning as Krishna meant it. Others cannot. Just unless one is advanced, just like in ordinary life, unless one has graduated, he cannot enter into law college. There is no prohibition. The law college is open for everyone, but one must be properly qualified to gain entrance. Similarly, one must be properly qualified to enter into the transcendental subject matter. It's not for everyone. How can Sudras understand the Vedas? It is not possible. And people in this Kali Yuga are much lower than the Sudras. Sudras is quite advanced. Because they are the Sudras, usually the Sudras, they follow the four regulative principles. Yeah. These are first-class Sudras, but today, forget it. Krishna knows that most people are contaminated. Therefore he said, idam tena atapaskaya. Those who are too contaminated with the three material qualities, sattva guna, rajaguna, tamoguna. So generally, people are contaminated with tamoguna, rajaguna. At the present, there is hardly anyone with the sattva guna, Brahminical qualifications. Shastra says, Kala Sudra Sambhava. In this age, Kali Yuga, they are mostly Sudras. That the abhakta rascal will not understand the Bhagavad Gita. Nabhaktaya, Before speaking the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna selected Arjuna. Why? Bhaktasi priyosi me rasyam etam uttanam. 4.3. The mystery of Bhagavad Gita is very transcendental subject matter. Therefore, I shall speak to you. Arjuna asked, why are you selecting me? I'm not a Vedantist. I'm not a sannyasi. I'm not a Grihastha. I'm a soldier fighting. Why are you selecting me? He says, Bhaktasi, because you are my devotee. Nobody can understand Bhagavad Gita unless he is a devotee of Krishna. It is not that you speculate some interpretation. No, these things are strictly not allowed. Therefore, we are presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is, not to fools and rascals. So first of all, give them a chance. Let them come to the temple, take prasada, hear Sankirtan, offer obeisance by imitating others. In this way, they can become a little purified. You can instruct them. Otherwise, it will be useless. You'll waste your time by arguing. So let them come to the temple. No need to preach to them. Let them look at the deities, give them prasadam, and deal with them nicely. A devotee does not have to speak to preach. Just by his behavior, he's preaching. Just by his behavior, by his character. He has an exemplary character. People become attracted to that. Yeah. Go back. Now, Krishna continues, 68. Yaidam paranam kuyam mad bhaktas abhidasyati bhaktimai pramkritva mama veshat asamsaya. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. It's Krishna's promise, pure devotional service. If you explain this secret to the devotees, that at the end of the purport, Bhagavad Gita should be explained to persons who are ready to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what Prabhupada said in the introduction. One should at least theoretically accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God before reading this book. It is a subject matter for the devotees only and not for philosophical speculators. Anyone, however, who tries sincerely to present Bhagavad Gita as it is will advance in devotional activities and reach the pure devotional state of life. As a result of such pure devotion, he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead. So sometimes devotional devotees are asking me, what's the shortcut to go back to Godhead? This is the shortcut. If you want to go quickly back to Godhead, that's the shortcut. So this here. However, this is a quote by Prabhupada. However, one is situated, one should have the determination to go out and preach Krishna consciousness. The endeavor should at least be there, and one who attempts to preach renders the best service to the Lord. Despite opposition, one should attempt to elevate people to the highest standard of self-realization. One who has actually seen the truth, who is in the trance of self-realization, cannot just sit idly. Yes, felt this pleasure, this ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. You want to share it with others. He cannot just sit idly. He must come out. Ramanujacharya, for instance, declared the Hare Krishna mantra publicly. He did not distribute it secretly for some fee. Recently, an Indian yogi came to America to give some private mantra. But if a mantra has any power, why should it be private? If a mantra is powerful, why should it not be publicly declared so that everyone can take advantage of it? We are saying that this Hare Krishna mantra can save everyone, and we are therefore distributing it publicly, free of charge. But in this age, people are so foolish that they are not prepared to accept it. Rather, they hanker after some secret mantra and therefore pay some yogi $25 or whatever for this private mantra. This is because people want to be cheated, but the devotees are preaching without charge, declaring in the streets, parks, and everywhere, here is a Hare Krishna mantra. Come, take it. But under the spell of my illusion, people are thinking, oh, this is not good. But if you charge something and bluff and cheat people, they will follow you. That is today. Right? Good. 69. Nasa tasman manusyeshu kashime priyakritamaha bhavitan nasametasmat anya priyataro bhave. There's no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. That so Krishna makes that statement so that we clearly understand who is most dear to him. And 70. Atyesta saya imam dharmyam samvadam avayo. Jnana chahyena tena ham istasyam itime mati. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me with his intelligence. That's what we are doing for the last 2.5 weeks. Worship Krishna by our intelligence. That let's see. Krishna worships preachers. My dear King Yudhishthira, the Brahmins, especially those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord throughout the entire world, are recognized and worshipped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the heart and soul of all creation. The Brahmins, by their preaching, sanctify the 3 worlds with the dust of their lotus feet, and thus they are worshipable even for Krishna. As admitted by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Nasa tasma manushya sukashi me priyakritama. The Brahmanas preach the cult of Krishna consciousness all around the world, and therefore, although they worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord also recognizes them as worshipable. The relationship is reciprocal. The Brahmins want to worship Krishna, and similarly, Krishna wants to worship the Brahmins. Nice. Go back. 71. Yadavan anasuyasha shinuyat apiyonara sopi mukta sivalokam papnuyat punyakarmanam. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. That in the purport. But it so happens that sometimes the devotee of the Lord will hold open classes. And in that class, not all the students are expected to be devotees, because that's the problem. Why do such persons hold open classes if it's only for the devotees? There are non-devotees in the public. It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there may be many men who are not envious of Krishna. They have faith in him as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's called the innocent. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become free from all sinful reaction, and after that attain to the planetary systems where all righteous persons are situated. So, these are people who are not devotees. but they hear Bhagavad Gita with faith, and they go to these auspicious planets, not the devotees. Should be clear. Devotees go to Vaikuntha. That's not that. Therefore, simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of righteous activities. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become a devotee of the Lord. Generally, those who are free from sinful reactions, those who are righteous, very easily take to Krishna consciousness. So those who are pious, they take easily to Krishna consciousness. Those who are vegetarian, they are not eating meat and all these things. They are more receptive to begin to understand Bhagavad Gita. Those who are righteous in performing devotion service, but who are not pure, can attain the planetary system of the pole star. So they are not pure. They have material desires. Or Dhruva-loka, where Dhruva-loka is presiding, is a great devotee of the Lord, and he has a special planet which is called pole star. Anyway, that 72. Kashitetam shutam parta tvaya karana shetasha kashitahyana sama panastaste dananjaya. O son of Pitta, a conqueror of wealth, you have heard this with an attentive mind. Have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? So they are in the middle of the battlefield. Krishna, did you hear with an attentive mind? Do you think we would be able to do that in the middle of the battlefield? It means Arjuna was very qualified. Even he could remain undisturbed and hear from Krishna. Others would be disturbed like anything and would not hear anything. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that this ignorance is dispelled. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. That's now 73. This is Arjuna's reply. Arjuna vacha nastama smriti labdha tvat prasada maya shuta stitosmi gata sandhya karishe vachanam tava. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I've regained my memory by your mercy. I'm now firm and free from doubt and prepared to act according to your instructions. So this is the last words of Arjuna, and there are a few significant points in the purport. So the constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. It's meant for self-discipline. Lord Chaitanya says that the actual position of the living entity is that of eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature, but in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes a liberated servant of God. The living entity's position is to be a servitor. He has to serve either the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. In illusion, the living entity is serving. In this material world, is bound by lust and desires. Yet he thinks himself the master of the world. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya, to trap the living entity is the proposition that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, but God. Actually, to become free from the illusory energy is to understand that every living being is an eternal servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is the master of the material world. So Krishna consciousness means acting according to Krishna's order. And Krishna has a plan, and Arjuna has understood that he wanted to reduce the unnecessary population, and he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. That good. There's a quote. Yeah. This Prabhupada's comment, a lecture Bhagavad Gita, New York. A lot of, in the beginning he spoke mainly on Bhagavad Gita in New York. All my misgivings, my misunderstandings have now gone by your mercy. I've decided to fight because you desire it. That is the sum and bonum of learning, that one should desire what God desires, that's all. That will make his life perfect. He should not desire anything for himself. His desiring capacity should not be stopped. Somebody says, don't desire, become desireless. What do we say to that? It is nonsense. Nobody can be desireless. How we can be desireless? Desire is a symptom of life. How can you stop it? It's not possible. I cannot be desireless, but I must desire purely. That's all. I should not desire impurely. If I desire from the bodily platform of life, then my desire will be impure. So Krishna consciousness is changing our desire. That's all. That's all, because that's activity of the soul. And all the other things follow from that. When I desire the same as the Supreme, then my desire is pure. That's pure desire. So desire should not be cut or stopped. It has to be purified. That's all. The whole thing is explained in a verse called Narada Pancharatra. The definition of this dovetailing consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness is nicely described in 2 lines by Narada Muni. Sarvopade Vinermuktam Tat Paratfana Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakta Uttama Uchate. So, Atmendriya Tripti Vanshad Dare Tare Nama Kam. Kam means lust. What is lust? Lust means whenever you try to satisfy your senses, but whenever you try to satisfy Krishna's senses, that is love. Difference between love and lust. It is practically the same business, but one is personal, the other is Krishna. So this Krishna conscious movement means we have to do everything for Krishna in the proper direction. We cannot manufacture that I'm doing for Krishna. That is also misleading. Therefore, we require the guidance of the spiritual master, Krishna. Go Krishna Kripaya. Yes, I will act according to your desire. That is Bhakti. That is the difference between Bhakti and Karma. Karma means to fill my desires, and Bhakti means to fulfill Krishna's desire. That is the difference. Now you make your choice as to whether you want to fulfill your own desires or Krishna's. If you decide to fulfill Krishna's desire, then your life is successful. That is our Krishna conscious life. Krishna wants it, I must do it. I will not do anything for me. That is Vrindavan. All the inhabitants of Vrindavan are trying to fulfill Krishna's desire. The cowherd boys, the cows, the trees, the flowers, the water, the gopis, the elderly inhabitants, Mother Yasoda, Nanda, are all engaged in fulfilling Krishna's desire. That is Vrindavan. So you can turn this material world into Vrindavan, provided you agree to fulfill the desires of Krishna. So turn his world into Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada, everywhere he came, he turned the place into Vrindavan. And that now we can understand how he did it. That now we are going back to Sanjay. Bhagavad Gita is over. So, and Sanjay has told everything to Dhritarashtra, and he's speaking now to Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya vacha, ityam vasudevasya, partasya samahatman, samvadam iyam ashrasam adbhutam roma harshanam. Krishna said, thus I've heard the conversation of the two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and it's so wonderful that message that my hair is standing on end. On end. So Prabhupada writes at the end of the Prabhupada, if we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Happy and successful. Sanjay realized this. And as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that whatever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. Now, 75. Vyasa prasada shrutavan etaguyam aham param. Yogam yogeshvara Krishna saksat katayata svayam. By the mercy of Vyasa, I've heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. That by the mercy of Vyasa, by the mercy of his spiritual master, he has heard these talks directly from Krishna. He got mystic powers by the mercy of Vyasa to hear what Krishna said to Arjuna. Nobody on the battlefield could hear it, but he could hear it. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly, but through the medium of the spiritual master. That is important. I repeat again, this means that one has to understand Krishna not directly, but through the medium of the spiritual master. So Prabhupada's purports are there. They are even more important than the verses, because without the purport, we cannot understand. By the mercy of Prabhupada. The spiritual master is a transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is still direct. It is still direct, like hearing from Krishna. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. When the spiritual master is bona fide, then one can hear Bhagavad Gita directly, or as Arjuna heard this. Krishna's instruction is explicitly stated in Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto Krishna. One who does so is the topmost yogi. Actually, there is no difference between hearing directly from Krishna and hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasa. The spiritual master is the representative of Vyasadeva also. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, on the birthday of the spiritual master, the disciples conduct the ceremony called Vyasa Puja. So that is the duty of all disciples. On the birthday of the spiritual master, they write an offering and they give some vaccine. That is the duty of the disciple. 76. Rajam samsmitya samvadamidam adbhutam kesavayonayo punyam vishami samuho moho. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. So the result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but every moment. 77. Dasha samsmita samsmitya rupamat adbhutamari Vishmayo me mahan rajan rishami sa puna puna. O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. The last verse. Yatra yogesvara Krishna, yatra parto danurtara, tatra vijayo bhutir dovanitir matir mama. Where there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So Sanjay says, you are thinking of victory to Dhritarashtra, but where Krishna and Arjuna is, there will be all good fortune. Then, interesting. That's something you hear many times, and Prabhupada mentions that here. Some may protest that Krishna incited Arjuna to fight, which is immoral. But the reality of the situation is clearly stated. Bhagavad Gita is a supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality is stated in the 9th chapter, in the 34th verse. Manmana bhavmad bhakto. One must become a devotee of Krishna, and the essence of religion is to surrender unto Krishna. Sarvadram parityam mamkam samvatsa. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita constitute the supreme process of religion and morality. Further, from Bhagavad Gita we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation is one process, but to fully surrender unto Krishna is the highest perfection. That at the end, the actual truth is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the absolute truth is realized in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, ultimate, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, impersonal Brahman, 1854. That Brahma Bhuta Pashanatma Shustina Kangshin Sambasavesha Bhutsham Bhaktim Lavate Param. Localized Paramatma, 1861. Ishvara Sarabhutam Rishayunatisne Brahmam Samabhutani Yanti Udani Maya. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarvadam Parichayam Amakam Samvatam Tum Sarvapabhya Mukshishya Mahatscha. And the verse before and the verse after. But in Bhagavad Gita, 5 principal subject matters have been discussed. This material nature, living entities, eternal time, and all kinds of activities, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of course. Nothing is different from the Supreme, but the Supreme is always different from everything. That's Asintya Beda Beda Tattva that we discussed, 9.4, 9.5, you may remember. There it's explained. This system, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivable oneness and difference. Oneness, because oneness in quality, Satchitananda. And difference, that because Krishna is unlimited, we are limited. That this is the system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. The living entity in its original position is pure spirit. It's just like an atomic particle of the Supreme. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord. So he can choose to connect with the external energy or the internal energy. Rupa Goswami explains that. He said we are marginal, and we can connect with the internal energy or the external energy. Bahiranga Shakti and Antaranga Shakti. And we are Tatastha Shakti. That's the marginal. Yeah. By proper use of the independence, he becomes under the direction of the Lord. Thus he maintains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. the Ladini Shakti, the spiritual energy, which gives us bliss and ecstasy. Good. Yeah, still a few quotes of Srila Prabhupada on this last verse. We read only a few small ones. The opulence of a devotee are not a result of karma, kanda, vichar. A devotee is always protected by the Supreme Lord's opulences, of which one can deprive him. Thus, the devotee cannot be defeated by any opponents. Therefore, the devotee should not deviate knowingly from the path of devotion. The adherent devotee assured protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. Preachers will be victorious. If the preachers in our Krishna consciousness movement are sincere devotees of Krishna, Krishna will always be with them because he's very kind and favorable to all these devotees. Just as Arjuna and Krishna were victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra, this Krishna consciousness movement will surely emerge victorious if we remain sincere devotees of the Lord and serve the Lord according to the advice of predecessors, the 6 Goswamis, and other devotees of the Lord. The whole battlefield became victorious because of Arjuna. That is wanted. A devotee must be there, and Krishna must be there. Then all opulences will come. That is the secret. Why should a devotee go to the forest to meditate or require some mystic power? He doesn't require anything if he always keeps Krishna within. So, that's it. Now we go to the PowerPoint, summarize. Krishna excludes the non-devotees from understanding the Gita. Only devotees should explain Krishna's message, and only to those willing to accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. The devotee is more merciful than Krishna. That's our Navyogendra Maharaj. Yeah, that's nice. The devotee is more merciful than Krishna, and therefore sometimes preaches even to non-devotees, trying to give everyone a chance to become purified and also become Krishna's devotee. As Arjuna's guru, Krishna inquired whether Arjuna understood his instructions because he was ready to re-explain the whole Gita if Arjuna was still confused. Arjuna is convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that he is Krishna's servant. Therefore, giving up his independent ideas, he agrees to act according to Krishna's desire. As Arjuna heard Gita directly from Krishna, so we can also hear directly by hearing Gita from Krishna's pure devotee. By hearing Bhagavad Gita, we can experience Krishna's association, become increasingly enlightened, and relish spiritual happiness at every moment. In answer to Dhritarashtra's question, Sanjay gives his opinion that victory will be on the side of Arjuna and Krishna. 4 of the principal subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, material nature, living entity, eternal time, and all kinds of activities, have been shown to be simultaneously one and different from the Lord, the 5th principal subject, the Supreme Lord Krishna. The highest morality is given in Bhagavad Gita, surrender to Krishna, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As such, surrender, the living entity can attain his eternal blissful position in the spiritual world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Arjuna heard the Bhagavad Gita, and he became desireless. That he just wanted to fulfill the desire to Krishna. But we see these instructions where Krishna says to Arjuna, one who preaches this knowledge, my devotee, is very dear to me, and no one will be more dear. That's Prabhupada's mission. We find Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission, especially in purport 71. There he explains how a pure devotee gives everyone a chance to become a devotee, regardless of qualification. Although Krishna orders not to explain this knowledge to non-devotees, Srila Prabhupada, in the merciful mood of Lord Chaitanya, freely distributed love of Godhead. Krishna was very strict, as he demanded that one first surrender to him to become free of sinful reactions. But Lord Chaitanya made no such conditions and magnanimously gave Krishna prema to everyone. So Prabhupada was qualified to preach even to non-devotees. We cannot. But we can give them a book. And when they open the book, Prabhupada is preaching to them. That's how we spread Krishna consciousness. That good. By studying Bhagavad Gita, we are worshipping Krishna. So I hope now the course Bhagavad Gita goes at the end that you don't stop worshipping Krishna with your intelligence by studying Bhagavad Gita. It's a lifetime assignment. We continue every day to study, and we will go deeper and deeper because Bhagavad Gita is so deep as the ocean. It's so deep, and it's unlimitedly deep. It never comes to an end. So we'll stop here.